Yeah, it's your life, you can play with it. You make your bed, you gon' lay in it. Do your thing.
What happens when a Crenshaw street kid rises up to become the one figure powerful enough to connect rival gangs, tech billionaires, and the entire city of Los Angeles into one uneasy circle? That question still shakes the culture today. And then there's the mystery that won't go away, a quiet documentary about a controversial healer that many believe played a role in the tension surrounding Nipsey's final days. People still talk, whispering theories and asking hard questions. Born Ermias Joseph Oskidam on August 15, 1985 in South Central Los Angeles, Nipsey Hussle came into a world where nothing was promised and survival came first. His mother, Angelique Smith, was African American, while his father, Dawit Oskidam, escaped Eritrea in the 1970s during a brutal war, a struggle that deeply shaped Nipsey's mindset and mission from day one. But here's the part of Nipsey's childhood most people never really talk about. By age 14, he wasn't just posted on street corners trying to figure life out. He had already become connected to the rolling 60s neighborhood Crips, moving through a world where choices came fast and consequences came faster. Then, at just 19, Nipsey made a money move that hinted at something way bigger than music. It was a bold decision that quietly signaled the business mind that would later flip the industry on its head. But before diving into that chapter, there are two jaw-dropping moments tied to Nipsey's final year that still raise eyebrows today. One involved a scheduled meeting with the LAPD set to happen just hours after his death. The other centered on a documentary about a controversial healer, someone who claimed in federal court to have cured AIDS, a project Nipsey was actively involved in when his life was cut short. Raised in the heart of Crenshaw, Nipsey attended Alexander Hamilton High School, but left before graduating. By 17, the streets had become his classroom, shaping his grind, his vision, and his hunger for more.
Blue laces in my blue chucks. I ain't never gave $2. BT, I jumped.
In 2002, Nipsey linked up with Buttervision, a creative multimedia crew where his stage name was born, a twist on comedian Nipsey Russell's name, given to him because his grind never stopped. He was always working, always pushing, always thinking ahead. 2 years later, in 2004, when Nipsey was just 19, his father made a move that would flip his entire mindset forever. He took Nipsey and his brother, Samuel, to a 3-month trip to Eritrea. No shortcuts, no distractions, no comfort zone. The start was rough. Nipsey was sick for the first 2 weeks, hit hard by culture shock, confusion, and the weight of oppression he had never experienced like this before. He didn't know how to move out there or where he fit in. But after those first 2 weeks, something clicked. Nipsey leaned into the experience and let go of the habits he was used to, smoking every day, cruising through the neighborhood, chasing comfort instead of purpose. Once he stepped outside that bubble, his whole perspective shifted. What hit him the hardest about Eritrean culture was how everything revolved around food and family. Eating together wasn't optional, it was life. In America, families moved so fast they might only sit down together on holidays like Thanksgiving or Christmas. But back in Eritrea, from noon to 3 p.m., the entire city slowed down. Everything shut down except the restaurants, bringing people together every single day. Everybody went home, the men clocked out, school let out, and families came together to eat lunch every single day. No excuses. That rhythm stuck with Nipsey deep. When he returned to LA, something about him had shifted for real. His mindset sharper, his purpose clearer, but the reality was simple. Before anything else, he still had to survive. In December 2005, at just 20 years old, Nipsey independently dropped his first mixtape, Slauson Boy Volume 1. The streets caught on fast. The buzz was loud enough to land him deals with Cinematic Music Group and Epic Records, a major look that most artists only dream about. But this is where the story takes its first dark twist.
Years later, Nipsey revealed he signed his Epic Records deal while actively laying low from police. He was hiding out at his homie Tony Covey's house, moving carefully and watching every step. Someone he had been involved with was already locked up for the situation, and Nipsey knew law enforcement was looking his way. There wasn't a warrant yet. They hadn't made it official because they didn't want to tip him off, but the pressure was heavy and the clock was ticking fast.
Like I wouldn't take it to the back with you. Same nigga walk this track with you. Same nigga shot a strap.
But Nipsey wasn't clueless. He knew exactly what time it was. In his mind, it was simple. I'm gonna sign this deal, grab this check, and fight my case. It wasn't flashy. It was survival mixed with strategy. And then comes the truly wild part, because what Nipsey faced still didn't compare to what his brother Black Sam went through. At one point, Black Sam buried $200,000 straight in the backyard, no banks, no safety net, then walked away and started from zero, grinding all over again. When they finally dug it back up, disaster hit. Only $107,000 survived. The rest was ruined by mildew, completely gone. Nipsey never forgot that moment. He remembered his mom, his little sister, still young at the time, all of them packed into the living room with blow dryers, desperately trying to save what they could. Black Sam was breaking down under the pressure. Wet stacks of cash were spread all over the house, the smell heavy in the air. Everyone fighting the clock, hoping the money could somehow be brought back to life. Nipsey was still young, watching this whole disaster play out right in front of him, learning the hard way that you can't just bury cash in the backyard and expect everything to be straight. That moment stuck with him, a real-life lesson about money, risk, and trust. Then, in 2010, another major shift hit. Epic Records started having financial problems, and Nipsey made a bold call. He didn't renew his contract. He walked away from the major label machine on his own terms and never looked back. Nipsey later broke down exactly what went wrong, saying there was a full regime change at Epic. Charlie Walk had signed him, and when Brandon Creed, Adam Granite, Johnny Sheese, and Jim McDaniels were still in the building, they truly believed in him. They had real power. But once they were gone, everything changed. A whole new crew came in, and as Nipsey explained, when there's a regime change at a label, you don't really get credit for what's already signed. The new leadership wanted fresh faces, new priorities, and new wins, and that reality pushed Nipsey to bet on himself instead. In 2010, XXL magazine named Nipsey to their freshman class as most determined. But by then, Nipsey had already learned something critical. He didn't need permission from the industry to win. That lesson was locked in. Walking away from Epic, Nipsey launched All Money in Records, betting fully on himself. On December 21st, 2010, he dropped The Marathon, setting the tone. A year later, The Marathon Continues followed, featuring YG and Dom Kennedy, and the movement kept growing. But the move that flipped the game came in 2013. Nipsey announced a mixtape called Crenshaw and said he'd sell just 1,000 physical copies for $100 each. People called him crazy, laughed it off, and said it would never work. Elliot Wilson told Nipsey Rap Radar wouldn't even post the link unless Nipsey explained why he was charging $100. Nipsey broke it down, and then something wild happened.
19 touching 2 birds. Alpinas off a few swerves. Gray leather in my white.
Jay-Z saw it, believed in the vision, and bought 100 copies on the spot, $10,000 just to support the play. But here's the part nobody ever brings up. Back in 1998, when Jay-Z negotiated to use the Annie Hard Knock Life sample from Annie, he made a next-level move most people never noticed. He struck a deal with the copyright owners that allowed every hip-hop artist after him to use that record too. That meant when Nipsey were to sample it years later, the hard part was already done. He only needed Jay-Z's approval. Jay had literally set the table for the next generation. That kind of forward-thinking power play deeply inspired Nipsey and shaped how he moved. When Crenshaw dropped, Nipsey sold 1,000 copies in under 24 hours. That's $100,000 off a project people could stream for free. Then came the pop-up shops, Brooklyn, Chicago, every major city on the tour. Hustlers were pulling out stacks, buying 10, even 25 copies at a time. It wasn't just a purchase, it felt like a statement, a salute. Boxes emptied fast. But with success came pushback. Just 3 weeks before Crenshaw dropped, Complex magazine placed Nipsey on their underachievers list in 2013. After the project exploded, Complex suddenly wanted an interview. Nipsey fired back with an email that said that's $10,000 for an interview. Pure frustration, pure principle. That moment caused shockwaves, and instead of burning bridges, it unexpectedly opened a door, leading to a sit-down with Mark Echo, who owned Complex at the time. They talked it out and ended up building a real connection. Mark was straight with him, saying the magazine had its own opinions, and he let the editors move how they move. He told Nipsey, have another conversation, get on the phone with him, say everything you told me, and that's exactly what Nipsey did. When Nipsey got on the phone with Complex, he didn't sugarcoat a thing. He told him, y'all got your whole metrics wrong. He broke it down from his perspective, saying, where I come from, I ain't on drugs, I ain't dead, I ain't doing 100 years. Then he made it crystal clear, I'm an overachiever, don't get it confused. Don't judge me on rapper standards, don't put me on rapper time, because my life ain't just a rapper life. That line hit hard. And then Nipsey went even deeper, laying out a truth that
2 C's on my bitch shit. My money rising like Bisquick. 6 words help you